I welcome all of you to the video lecture series on computational fluid dynamics, development, application, analysis. This lecture corresponds to the chapter 3 of the companion book on essentials of fluid dynamics and heat transfer for CFD. After the first topic on introduction to CFD, this lecture series is on topic 2 on essentials for computational fluid dynamics. This is presented in two different subsections. First, on whenever you want to learn a subject, there are some essential concepts which are needed to learn that subject. So here for CFD, the essential concepts are presented first separately for fluid dynamics and heat transfer, and then for numerical methods. The present lecture is for essentials of fluid dynamics and heat transfer for computational fluid dynamics. This subsection consists of 4 different subtopics: physical laws, momentum and energy transport mechanism, initial and boundary condition, governing and engineering parameter. This lecture is particularly focused on the first section, physical laws. In this lecture, will be presented separately for conservation laws and associated 2 types of variable as well as terms, and finally the subsidiary laws are presented. When we say physical laws in fluid dynamics, there are 2 types of laws: conservation laws, subsidiary laws. They are presented separately here. So the fundamental laws corresponds to the law of conservation of mass, momentum and energy. Any fluid dynamics problem obey this conservation laws. And in fluid dynamics, since we use a continuum approach, we do not follow a microscopic approach of studying fluid dynamics. We consider the fluid as continuous in space and time. So there is some molecular information which gets lost in, so that is recovered through the subsidiary laws. So the subsidiary law consists of Fourier law of heat conduction for heat transfer problem. And for fluid mechanics problem, it corresponds to Newton's stress-strain rate relationship. Note that when you study heat transfer of fluid dynamics in a micro or nano scale, such as if you consider nanoscale conduction heat transfer, the Fourier law of heat conduction gets modified for such class of problems. So let us start with conservation laws. There are 3 conservation laws. Rate, which states that rate of change of mass is equals to 0, rate of change of momentum is equals to force, and the rate of change of energy is equals to total heat gain by conduction and volumetric heat generation. However, in solid mechanics, when we consider rate of change, there is a single term. But in fluid mechanics and heat transfer, since we follow an Eulerian approach as compared to Lagrangian approach used in solid mechanics, the rate of change consists of 2 different terms: rate of change inside the control volume, rate of change of fluid inside a control volume, and rate of change due to the fluid flowing across the surface of the control volume. So these are the terms corresponding to rate. So we are applying this conservation law for an elemental control volume. Let us consider a 2D control volume of width delta x and delta y. So for that case, the left hand side consists of 2 rate of change of mass, momentum and energy of the fluid inside the control volume, and the rate of change of mass, momentum and energy of the fluid flowing across the surface of the control volume. When we consider the first rate of change, which is corresponding to inside the control volume, the variables which appear gets associated with these terms are presented here. The variable which appears for rate of change of mass inside the control volume is represented here by this curly m, which I'll call as curly m. And momentum, when you apply rate of change of x momentum, the variable which appear is the product of mass with u velocity. Similarly, for y momentum, it's the product of mass with v velocity. And for energy, we have a term which is enthalpy, which is equal to the product of mass, specific heat and temperature. Whereas when you consider the momentum conservation, in thermodynamics also you study heat, but when you study heat transfer, the difference is Here you study the rate of heat transfer. Similarly, in fluid mechanics, you have come across not only mass, but you also come across mass flow rate. So mass flow rate is represented here by straight M. So there are two types of M which is presented here. This M, which I'll call as curly M, is representing mass. This is a symbol for mass for the present lecture series. And when I use capital straight M, this corresponds to mass flow rate. Now the mass is expressed as the product of density and volume. Whereas when you consider mass flow rate, it is expressed as product of mass flow rate. Note that the mass is proportional to volume, whereas mass flow rate depends on the surface area. So it's expressed as product of density and surface area. There is an additional variable which appears. Now this is an expression corresponding to mass, and this is corresponding to mass flow rate. Both this expression have density which is common, whereas here you have a volume, here you have a surface area. So for mass flow rate, the additional term which appear is a velocity, which is a vector. Now surface area is a vector. This velocity is also a vector. So you take the dot product of this velocity and the surface area. So the dot product of two vectors give you a scalar. So the mass flow rate is a scalar term. When you consider the momentum transport across the surface of the control volume, we define a term which is called as x momentum flow rate, which is expressed as the product of this mass flow rate with u velocity. Similarly, the product of mass flow rate with v velocity gives you the y momentum flow rate. And here you get, for energy, you get an enthalpy flow rate, which is expressed as mass flow rate into specific heat into temperature. So note that the symbols which are presented here for applying the conservation law for the rate of change of term, there are two different M's. This curly M, which corresponds to mass, straight M, which corresponds to mass flow rate. There are two types of capital H. This curly H, which represents the enthalpy, and the straight H, which represents the enthalpy flow rate. Whenever we, so note that the rate of change inside involves terms which is mass, and mass is directly proportional to volume. So that's why all these terms are called as volumetric terms. They depend on volume. Whereas if you consider the second rate of change term, which corresponds to rate of change of mass flow rate, x momentum flow rate, y momentum flow rate, and enthalpy flow rate flowing across the surface of the control volume, then you see that all these terms consist of mass flow rate. And the mass flow rate, since it is dependent on the surface area, all these terms depend on surface area, and they are called as flux term, as shown here. So the terms which depend on the volume, they are called as volumetric term. So here you have a mass. Here, since you have a mass flow rate which is dependent on surface area, all these terms are called as flux terms. So this corresponds to the left-hand side of the conservation law. The rate of change of mass is equal to, now on the right-hand side you have a 0, whereas for the rate of change of momentum, which basically corresponds to Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum is equal to force. The momentum conservation law, we apply component by component. So what is shown here is for x momentum, the rate of change of x momentum is equal to the force acting in the x direction. And for the y momentum equation, it is the rate of change of y momentum is equal to force acting in the y direction. The rate of change of energy is equal to, this is the total heat gained by conduction mode of heat transfer. And this is the total heat gained by heat generation, if there is a heat generation. Now, the forces which are presented on the right hand side, this viscous force can be expressed as Fv. This is acting in the x direction. This viscous force is acting in the y direction. And this is the total rate of heat transfer due to conduction mode of heat transfer. This is the pressure force acting in the x direction. This is the pressure force acting in the y direction. And this is the body force acting in the x direction. This is the body force acting in the y direction. And it is the total heat which is generated by volumetric heat generation. So these are the symbols which we use for the right hand side. Now, this viscous forces, conduction, heat transfer rate, they depend on the surface area. So that's why they are also called as flux term. The pressure also depends on the surface area. So that it is a flux term. Whereas the body force, such as force due to gravity, electric field, magnetic field, they depend on the volume. So that's why they are volumetric term. This heat generation, it also depends on the volume. It is called as volumetric. So in computational fluid dynamics, we express this conservation laws as unsteady advection diffusion terms along with, and whatever is left other than this term, we call those as Schwartz term. So this representation of conservation law is customized for CFD. I would like to draw your attention that if you have a rate of change of x momentum, then it gives you an idea that basically when you talk of rate of change of x momentum, it's a product of mass and u velocity. So you get an idea, but that by the rate of change of x momentum, you will get a movie for u velocity. The rate of change of y momentum gives you an idea that through this you can get a movie for v velocity. So in a CFD, you can get movie for u velocity from x momentum, v velocity from y momentum. From the rate of change of enthalpy, you can get a movie for temperature. So these three laws, it's very clear that you can get movie for u velocity, v velocity, and temperature from the momentum and energy conservation law. Then you are left with mass conservation law. The mass conservation law says that rate of change of mass is equal to 0. However, now if you the rate of change of mass can be written in terms of, if you consider the rate of change of mass for the fluid inside the control volume, then basically you get rate of change of density because mass is converted as a product of density into volume. So this gives you an idea that for mass conservation, the rate of change of mass can give you a movie for density distribution. However, for incompressible flow, the density does not vary with space and time. So for incompressible flow, note that you end up with a situation that you have a rate of change of mass where the unstudied term, the rate of change of mass, the density variation is not present in case of incompressible flow. So then you are left with this mass conservation law to recover pressure. So here I want to mention that for the CFD for compressible flow and incompressible flow are very different due to the fact that in a compressible flow, the rate of change of mass gives you an idea that you can recover the movie for density from the mass conservation law. And then you have an additional equation like an ideal gas law, P is equals to rho RT. So similar type of equations, pressure, density, temperature relationships are used to obtain the pressure, and mass conservation is used to obtain the density distribution. However, when you come to incompressible flow, you can get the velocities and temperature from the momentum and energy conservation. Then you have to get from the steady form of the mass conservation equation, the pressure. This is one of the biggest challenge in the CFD for incompressible flow. This is the reason CFD for incompressible flow is very different from CFD for compressible flow. In CFD for compressible flow, mass conservation is used to obtain the density, momentum conservation is used to obtain the velocity distribution, energy conservation is used to obtain the temperature, and a density temperature relationship like an ideal gas law is used to obtain the pressure. Whereas for incompressible CFD for incompressible flow, you end up with a situation where density doesn't vary with time. So this unsteady term is 0. You are left with a term which which consists of the spatial variation of the mass flow rate across the surface of the control volume. And then you don't have a term like rate of change of pressure to recover the pressure. So this has been one of the biggest challenge in the development of CFD. You can appreciate this more later at the later part of this course. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, that the rate of change of mass, momentum, and energy or enthalpy inside the control volume leads you to a term as shown here: mass, which is shown here, momentum. This rate of change of mass inside the control volume leads you to a term like this. Rate of change of momentum lead you to this term. And the rate of change of, this is the expression for x momentum. This is the expression for y momentum. And this is for enthalpy. This is a term for heat generation. Now let me show you the, as I had shown, whereas if you, the rate of change of mass flow rate across the surface of the control volume leads you to the surface variable. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, this mass flow rate is dependent on the surface area. So the product of mass flow rate and the velocity gives you the momentum flow rate. And if you take the component of the velocity, you get x momentum flow rate and y momentum flow rate. And this is the enthalpy flow rate. So the rate of change of mass inside, you get a term mass. When you consider rate of change of mass flow rate across the surface of the control volume, you get this surface variable. So all this term, mass flow rate, momentum flow rate, enthalpy flow rate, the viscous force, the pressure force, conduction heat transfer rate, they depend on the surface area. So that's why they are called here as surface variable. But mass, momentum, enthalpy, heat generation, they depend on volume. That's why they are called as volumetric variables. In the next slide, I will show you volumetric and surface terms in conservation law, where what we are basically doing is we are dividing this volumetric term by volume, and we are representing it by an overbar. Okay, so mass per unit volume is equal to density, whereas we represent the flux term, like the mass flux we represent by, for mass flux we represent by as mass per unit area normal to the direction of flux. So this mass flux is given as rho into u velocity. So in the next slide, I will show you the flux term, which is basically corresponding to all these terms divided by the surface area. Whereas I will show you the volumetric term, where I'll show you all this term divided by the volume. So this will, when I divide by volume, this m, curly m will become curly m bar, and this is equals to rho. Now when I divide this by volume, this will become rho u vector. This will be rho u, rho v, this will be rho cpt. Here when I divide by the surface area, I am showing you the mass flux. In the next slide, when this term, momentum flow rate, will become m vector, u vector. This will become m into u. This will become m into v. This will become m cp t. Now when I divide this forces by area, you will get stresses. And this conduction heat flux, when you divide by the surface area, you will get conduction flux, which is also a vector. Note that there are two directions which are involved in this momentum flux and this viscous stresses, which I'll discuss in the next slide. So when you divide those volumetric variables with volume, you get, so all this on the previous slide, all these terms in this slide, they are having an overbar. So basically I'm dividing by volume. So this is mass per unit volume, which is density. This is x momentum per unit volume, which is density into u velocity. This is y momentum per unit volume, density into v velocity. This is enthalpy per unit volume. Okay, so here I am showing you volumetric mass, volumetric x momentum, volumetric y momentum, and volumetric enthalpy, and this is volumetric heat generation with an overbar. All these terms you can see they have overbars. Overbar represent per unit volume. Now in the previous slide, I was showing you capital M. When I use a small m, I mean it's a per unit area. So here the overbar represents per unit volume. Now the flux term I am representing the per unit area term. I am changing the symbol corresponds to the small letter. So note that in this lectures I'll be using three types of M. In the previous slide I had shown you two types of M. So here it is shown. This is one M corresponding to the mass. This is another M corresponding to the mass flow rate. Now in the next slide I had shown you the mass flux. So the flux is represented by small letters, and the momentum flux is here represented by M vector, U vector. Now there are two directions involved in this M. Note that there is no dot product or cross product between this M vector and U vector. And let me first get started with this mass flux. This mass flux is mass flow rate per unit area. Momentum flow rate is momentum flux is momentum flow rate per unit area. Enthalpy flux is enthalpy flow rate per unit area. This viscous stresses are the viscous forces per unit area. Pressure is pressure force per unit area. Conduction flux is conduction heat transfer rate per unit area. Note that in the previous slide it was capital Q, here it is small q. In the previous slide this was capital M, here it's a small m. This M vector is equals to rho ui plus vj. Note that the symbols which are used here, when you have u with a vector, then it's with an arrow at the top, this is a velocity vector. Whereas this is corresponding to the x component of the velocity. So this is in a Cartesian coordinate system. This u is a horizontal velocity, this v is a vertical velocity. Whereas u with an arrow at the top, this is the velocity vector. Now this momentum flux, which is momentum flow rate per unit area. Momentum flow rate is mass flow rate into velocity. This consists of two directions, the direction of mass flux and the direction of the velocity. So it has four components in 2D Cartesian coordinate system. mxu, myu, mxv, myv. Similarly, stress is also a second order tensor. There are two directions associated with the stress. The plane in which stress is acting and the direction in which stress is acting. So it also has, in a 2D Cartesian coordinate system, it has four components: sigma xx, sigma yx, sigma xy, sigma y. So you know that the flux terms in the momentum conservation law, you encounter this momentum flux or momentum flow rate or this viscous force or viscous stress in momentum conservation law. In momentum conservation law, the flux terms you are seeing that they are second order tensor. Now what is second order tensor? In a scalar, you don't need any direction. In a vector, you need one direction. Now in a second order tensor, there are two directions. So vector is like a first order tensor. And so in momentum conservation law, you encounter fluxes which are second order tensor. But note that while applying the momentum conservation law, you always apply component by component. So that's why when you take a dot product of this m vector u vector as shown here, when you take a dot product of this m vector u vector, for x momentum you have to take a dot product with I, and you get this m vector u as the, which is, so basically what I'm saying is, in the momentum conservation law, since you apply momentum conservation law component by component, you always take the dot product with I for x momentum and j. So the second order tensor, whenever you take a dot product, it gets converted into a first order tensor. Like if you take a dot product of a vector with a unit vector, then it gets converted into a scalar component. So here, when we apply these fluxes for the momentum conservation law, finally the fluxes for x momentum and y momentum conservation law, they are vectors. Now let me show you for the various conservation law, as I will take each conservation law separately and I will present the volumetric and flux term corresponding to each conservation law. So these are the volumetric and flux term in the conservation laws. Let us first start with mass conservation law. So in a mass conservation law is a scalar law due to the fact that in mass conservation law, the variable which you talk is rate of change of mass. Now mass is a scalar quantity, so that's why we call it as a scalar law. Now here, the variables which you encounter, the volumetric variable which you encounter, this is curly bar, and bar means per unit volume. So this is mass per unit volume, this is a volumetric term. And the flux term which you encounter in mass conservation law is this mass flux. In a momentum conservation law, this momentum conservation law is a vector law due to the fact that momentum is a vector quantity. And in a vector conservation law, you find that the flux term are in this momentum conservation law, the volumetric term is, this is the volumetric momentum. Momentum is mass into velocity. When you divide by volume, you get this m bar, which is equals to rho. This is the volumetric momentum. This is the momentum flux, and this is the stress term. Because rate of change of momentum is equals to force. So rate of change of momentum, there are two terms as I mentioned. Rate of change of momentum of the fluid inside the control volume, which leads you to this momentum, this volumetric flux. Rate of change of momentum flow rate across the surface of the control volume lead you to this second flux, which we call as momentum flux. Now in energy conservation law is also a scalar law. Here we talk about rate of change of enthalpy. Enthalpy is a scalar quantity. So that's why we call this as a scalar law. And the volumetric term which you encounter here is, this is basically an enthalpy per unit volume. This is the enthalpy per unit volume. This is enthalpy, this is mass per unit volume into specific unit temperature. And the flux terms are, this is the enthalpy flux and this is the conduction heat flux. This is the volumetric enthalpy and this is a enthalpy flux. So in a energy conservation law, the volumetric term is volumetric enthalpy and the flux term is enthalpy flux and conduction flux. So what you note from this is that in scalar laws, there are two scalar laws, mass conservation law and the energy conservation law. In this, the volumetric term, if you see, both the volumetric, this is volumetric mass, this is volumetric enthalpy. They are scalar. Whereas if you see the flux term, mass flux, here you have enthalpy flux and conduction flux. They are vectors. Whereas if you see this vector law, Newton's second law of motion talks about momentum and force. They are vector quantities. Whereas mass conservation and energy conservation talks about mass and enthalpy, which are scalar quantities. So in a vector law, you see that now the flux term is, now the volumetric term is a vector because you have a velocity here. And the flux term is a second order tensor. Because now this, this momentum flux has two directions corresponding to mass flux and the velocity. And the stress is also represented by the direction of the plane in which it acts and the direction in which it acts. If both are same, then we call those as normal stresses. Otherwise, we call them as shear stresses. So in a scalar law, volumetric term is a scalar, while the flux term is a vector. Whereas in a vector law, which is a momentum conservation law here, volumetric term is a vector, while the flux term is a second order tensor. However, as I had mentioned earlier, that any vector law, we apply component by component. And we know from vector calculus that to take an x component, we take the dot product with the unit vector in the x direction, that is I. So for x momentum, here you can see, whenever you take the dot product of the volumetric term, when you take the dot product with I and j, it becomes a scalar. Whereas if you take the dot product for the second order tensor, it gets converted into a vector. So even though in a momentum conservation law, the volumetric term is a vector and the flux term is a second order tensor, but the fact that you apply this vector law component by component, so their order gets reduced, volumetric term gets converted into a scalar, when you take a dot product with I and j here, and the second order tensor for the flux terms get converted into a vector. So finally, when you apply component by component, the volumetric term in a vector law for a component wise application, the volumetric term is a scalar and the flux term is a vector. Now let us go back to the slide. So that was all about the conservation law and associated two types of variables, where I had presented volumetric and flux variables and two types of term, volumetric term and flux term. Other than the conservation law, I had mentioned that the fact that we use a continuum approximation, we use certain molecular level information, and that gets introduced through the subsidiary laws. Basically, we have two subsidiary laws. The first one presented here is the Fourier's law of heat conduction, where you encounter this conduction heat flux. Note that conduction heat flux is a vector, and for a 2D Cartesian coordinate system, it is shown here as Qx and Qy. Whereas in a fluid mechanics, stress is directly proportional to strain rate. So we have a relationship between stress and strain rate, and the strain rate using the fluid kinematics is converted into the velocity gradient. So what is presented here is the total stress is expressed in terms of pressure, and the shear strain is, this is sigma is stress, epsilon dot is the strain rates. The total stress, the pressure appears in the stress term in the normal stresses. In the sigma xx and sigma yy, you have a pressure term. What we commonly do in CFD, what will be presented in this lecture, I will present this pressure and the viscous stresses separately. So what I am doing is I am representing the sigma xx total is equals to minus p plus 2 this second term which corresponds to viscosity. I am writing it as sigma xx. So here I am representing, let me write it down. This sigma xx is represented here, sigma xx total is equals to minus p plus sigma xx, where this sigma xx is viscous stress, viscous normal stress. Similarly, the sigma yy, so this is shown here. Similarly, this is expressed as minus p plus sigma yy, whereas the shear stress doesn't consist of pressure term, so they are equal. So what I am showing you here, all these terms, they are viscous stresses. With this, I have come to the end of this lecture. The details of this lecture can be found in the chapter 3 of this reference book on Introduction to CFD, Development, Application and Analysis. Thank you for your attention.